I don't need to program this week. When's that next meeting? Friday? No programming. It's not programming. Yeah. Because I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, but like the first sentence, this is really sad.
So there's a program?
It's not a program. I mean, I just glossed over it. It looked like we're just rewriting.
There were like no notes. Yeah. Except for the
Oh, I think I might have added it.
Oh my God.
Sorry, bro, I don't check this. How far along am I? Oh, I can hear the presentation, but I'm not sure. I chose this motion that looks like. This is a good thing. I give you the
Oh, just whatever you chose.
I need to look it up. I'm gonna add it. Okay, so what is the marks?
Alright everyone, let's go ahead and get started. So, yeah, this is basically just a temporary seating chart, I guess, just because today will be a project work day. So we're going to be coming around and helping each team for about 10 to 15 minutes each. It's kind of like, you know, maybe in office hours we've only met with like a couple of teams, or like 1 or 2 members from each team. This is going to be like sort of like the official, like only like checkpoint really, where we are going to be able to like talk with you for 15 minutes. You should sort of ask any questions that you really need to get answered, but also let us know your biggest obstacles, okay? Remember, the grading for this is a bit different from the other projects because we sort of knew what all was required to like make the project work. This is something that y'all have designed, right? So a lot of like the way we evaluate it is based on what y'all sort of proposed, but also like as long as we know sort of the main obstacles and the things that you have tried and the things that didn't work, and maybe if we know why you might have had to narrow down the features that you're adding, that all plays a role, you know? So this is also maybe a lesson in communication where y'all should consider this as like you're checking in with your manager halfway through a project, and you should let them know sort of what things you're running into, what issues you're running into, just so you know we know what to expect basically for the final project, okay? And we'll sit with you for about 15 minutes to help you like help you plan your design document, help you plan what the next 2 weeks will look like in terms of the features that you are going to try to implement. You should maybe spend the first few minutes catching us up with what you've done in your like group so far. Maybe the first 5 minutes can be like that, and then we'll spend the last part of the individual meetings with your teams going over like what any specific questions and then any advice that you can give for what you'll work on in the next 2 weeks. Okay. But before we get into that, just a few announcements. So Project 3 grades, I meant to upload them before this class, but I didn't get around to it. They're all done, and we've sort of merged all the branches, or maybe we didn't merge all of them, but we've like gone through the changes that y'all have requested. The scores for this were generally quite high. We sort of made it where as long as you did the main headers of the design doc and the process journal, we gave you a 97 on that. And then if it was like an exceptional process journal or design doc, you got 100 on that part, like if it was an exceptional process journal or design doc. Let me actually just show y'all the rubric. Actually, I don't think we put it on the website. I can maybe show it here real quick. Whoops. That was people's grades. So yeah, this is what the project rubric is going to look like. And for assignment 3, for project 3, most people will get 97 on all of these for like hitting the requirements and the process journal and design doc. For code quality, just based on how many other code quality issues we sort of requested, that's going to determine this. Okay. So generally, most people are getting quite good scores on this, but I'll upload the grades maybe this evening, and as per usual, if you do have any questions with it or issues with it, you can make a private post on EdStem. We'll get back to you with what your rubric looked like, or you can come to office hours and we can go over that as well. Okay. Then the next thing is for Project 4. Project 4 we also went through by today, and I think the only reason you would have gotten changes requested is if your process journal was not in the right sort of format. Remember, there's a slightly different format for process journal for Project 4. Or if you were just like missing some screenshots or some way for us to just show that you were able to get the menu to show up and get the go to definition thing working. Okay. The grading for this is going to be much less, I guess, intense than the previous 2 ones. We're mainly not going to be requesting changes except for just making sure your chats, like your chats.json file is uploaded and your process journal is in the right format, okay? And I think we'll be uploading those grades as soon as the last few people sort of make these changes by uploading their chats.json file or fixing the process journal. Okay, next, the code walkthrough presentation. So these are happening on Tuesday and Thursday. I think I'm gonna just make it, I'm doing this in the interest of fairness, where on Tuesday maybe anybody could go, and we'll sort of decide on that day like which groups are going to be presenting. So come on Tuesday ready to present, and then we'll just have 5 or 6 teams if we're able to get to all 6 teams go on Tuesday, and then the remaining teams will go on Thursday. Okay. I had given a sort of outline on what you should do with the code walkthrough presentations, and this is a bit open-ended as well, where we have just general guidelines of things that you should show in the code walkthrough presentation. Remember, you'll want to show some nice diagram of that feature, and then a couple of the code comprehension techniques. But I want to make sure we sort of address any confusions about it now. Are there any questions about the code walkthrough presentation or what y'all will be doing, what the expectations are for it? That'll be next Tuesday and Thursday, so it's in about 4 or 5 days. Are there any questions people have? Yeah.
So depending on what teams go, like, how are you going to assign the other team that has to ask them the question?
Yeah, we'll assign those teams. Like, you'll also know whoever's going today what team you're paired up with, and so it's mainly like you'll know at the start of the lecture, and then if your team is going, then you'll be asking questions after that presentation. Are there any other questions on the code walkthrough presentation? Okay. Awesome. Okay, the next thing is the final project checkpoint is today. So remember, this is something we're going to be like verbally checking with y'all right now, but this is also going to be like 10% of the final project grade is the actual like written things that you're going to submit tonight, okay? So you'll need to show this progress report, and there's specific directions here about like linking these specific menu items to issues like GitHub issues or pull requests. So you'll want to maybe properly read the directions here and make sure you address these different things. One, we'll just be doing a check of your repository, checking if you have the GitHub project set up, if you're using pull requests, making commits, doing this like code review process. Maybe like one person should be reviewing each pull request at least. And then you'll also want to like write up your challenges and then have the very beginning of your design document. Okay, the design document does not have to be done at all. In fact, I feel like it's not really done until you finally, implemented your solution, right? Because this all might be changing as you come across new things and make changes. We will like go over what we sort of expect from the design document today, and maybe we can tailor it to your specific project. But this is not due today, but you should have like the beginnings of it, or tell us sort of your plan for the approach. Like, what are the libraries that you're going to be using? Are you going to be adding some new files? What are some of the main like objects that you're going to be working with? Are you writing to the PyShell? Are you using some of like the query message inputs? Like you should talk about what parts of the code base you're going to be interacting with, and that can be something you'll already have planned out, even if you don't have like the final diagrams or all the design sort of decisions, okay? All right, are there any questions about the final project checkpoint? So this will be something that you make as comments to your original GitHub issue. Remember, you made an initial GitHub issue for your 2 project proposals. Whichever one you're going with, you can just make a comment underneath that. Yeah, question.
Should challenges be in the design document, or should they be in as a comment?
That will just be in a comment. I guess you can talk about design challenges as well, but I think challenges we just mean more as like a project level challenges. It could be even stuff like we're having a hard time finding a time to meet, or I don't know, communication has been a bit tough, or like we all had different projects. But then I guess if you do have design challenges, that probably makes sense under the design document. Any other questions about the final project checkpoint? No questions? Okay, so just a couple more things of me talking before we get into like the work here. So the skill demonstration, thanks for the feedback, everyone. We got quite a bit of feedback and also some very heated takes about like it was, I don't know, there were some very adamant and passionate positions. In general though, this is sort of my takeaway on this, just so y'all know like how I feel about that. I think y'all sort of made it seem that the questions were fair and not too difficult, but I do know a lot of people weren't able to get to all of the questions. So I think the difficulties in using PrairieLearn definitely impact like how many questions you were able to get to, but it was good for us to be able to like test run those questions. The goal here is for this class, eventually this class is going to be expanded to like 300 people hopefully, and we need some way to give out assessments at scale. It's not always going to be so easy for us to do manual code reviews to check correctness and all that. So it was good to know like sort of how the questions were, but I think the PrairieLearn desktop was like horrible, and I don't think we're ever going to use that again for idle. Basically on PrairieLearn, we had to use the whole like virtual desktop because in idle, when you press run, there's like a graphical user interface, right? It's like a GUI application where it needs to be able to like open some other window and you have to like interact with that. Not all code bases are like that. Some code bases are just like the output just shows up in the terminal, right? And you can like have a bunch of code and use VS Code but not require some like extra GUI thing to pop up. So when we eventually do the final skill demo, okay, the final skill demo is going to happen in the last lecture. This is just going to count as part of your exploration activities grade, but again, this is like a very experimental thing. We're trying this out for teaching this class and also like for research purposes. Like we want to eventually be able to do this to like hundreds of students around the country, just like sort of send out an assessment and not have to worry about like, oh, do they have like Python 3.12 or they're running into issues in like the project 1 setup. So we're gonna still be doing something it'll be on PrairieLearn, but it's a way better interface on it. It's not the virtual desktop, and that I think will work a lot better, but again, we'll see. we're gonna have the skill demo on a different code base, okay? It's gonna be on a large code base that's not idle, so you'll be sort of having to use some of your program comprehension techniques and maybe read some documentation. You're free to use Google, ChatGPT, anything you want to sort of answer some of the questions that we have there. But it'll just be part of the exploration activities category. So far we've only had 2 of them. I think we'll have this as sort of like the third part of it. And it'll be a very low threshold for like getting a few things correct, okay? So don't stress out too much about like the grade on this. It's not gonna be a final exam or final assessment or anything like that. I think it'll barely be like even 3% of your grade, and I think most people will get almost full points on it. So I'm just letting y'all know now that we will be, this was sort of like a test run for a final skill demo, which is going to be on something out like aside from idling, okay? And since we know it's a new code base that you'll have to sort of learn about in like an hour and 20 minutes, we're definitely gonna keep it sort of simple, but just keep that on your radar, okay? Are there any questions about this or any more takes on Prairie Learn that people wanted to share? Maybe the summary wasn't satisfying. Yeah.
There's some question about when the final skill demo is.
Yeah, the final skill demo is going to be the actual like last lecture. So Thursday, June 6th. And this is like an hour and 20-minute lecture. It's not the final exam slot. That's going to be, I think, Monday afternoon. I think is it 2 to 5 p.m.? People know? Does anyone know? Okay, I think it's sometime Monday afternoon, and that'll be when the final presentations for the group project are. Any questions about skill demo? Okay, so this is the last thing before we sort of turn y'all free. This is also going to count as like the attendance today, but just a quick word on this. So this is like a survey that we want to do based on how Project 4 went, and it's also for research purposes. So please just try to be honest in this and don't just give answers that are meant to like, don't just like 1 for everything or 5 for anything. Hopefully you can maybe just rate how much you agree. It's all just rating stuff from 1 to 5, so please just try to think through this. One quick thing before I'll just jump right in. There's 2 sections that have the same questions, okay? But the first section is your trust in the GitHub Copilot code generation features, okay? So when you ever asked Copilot to generate code for you, if this was like through making those comments and then it shows a line or like a whole function, or if you even in the chat asked it to give me some code that did this, that would be code generation, okay? And the next section, after you click next, after you click the first next, then it's about the code comprehension features, okay? So if you were just ever asking it to like generate documentation or just using the chat feature to like help you find something in the code base or just explain something to you, that's what that second section is about, okay? So it's the same questions, but they relate to different things. So go ahead and just take like 4 or 5 minutes to do this.
Can we know your answers about them too?
Can you what? Sorry?
Can we know your answers?
Oh,
about
sure, yeah, maybe we can do that by the end of class. I'll let you know.
This is just specifically for Copilot.
Yeah, just Copilot, not GPT. This is just for GitHub Copilot features, and it's based on your experience from Project 4 and maybe the in-class. Okay, I'll just give another minute for this because I think there's still a few people wrapping up their responses.
Okay, just make that branch and then make it. So branch yeah, that's a branch off.
You need it in the package on Tuesday.
The issue itself.
Yeah. I think you got.
Oh. Make sure.
Where's that person at? You might be confusing. We can.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start this now. So we're gonna set maybe like a hard limit of 15 minutes per team because there's only 1 hour left in class. Also, so Charles is out sick today, and by the way, if you were gonna go to his office hours today, he moved them to tomorrow. So I think now we have like 2 office hours tomorrow. I think Yash and Charles both have office hours. So instead though, we are gonna have Jerry, who was like also a co-creator of this class. Like me and him were TAs for Gerald last year when Gerald taught this. And you know, obviously he knows the code base very well. He's gonna be stepping in for Charles, and we'll be reviewing Charles's team's proposals. But remember, like, we don't have very much context on each of the projects, okay? So make sure in the first like 3 to 5 minutes you catch us up with what your project is and sort of your approach for it, okay? Like maybe any libraries you're gonna use, any like main progress things y'all have made so far, okay? So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll just maybe go in the order that our teams are listed in. So like I would start with binary baddies, then like Yash would start with idle, Richie would start with this one, etc. Okay. Are there any questions before? While you're not getting help, you know, think of it as an opportunity to spend time working with your group, writing up the final project checkpoint, or just doing any like team meeting, team logistics stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and get
Where do we have
I'll see how it's just called Oh, yeah, so they're just, well, it's just
I'm gonna write down the challenges and the problems. What are we using? Just because I want to say, what would you make?
Are you actually what's the You already think you're making that you already made I would say like work on say like
honestly, I would.
You want to like push it like
Oh, I see.
So you could also have like one.
Where you want to kind of like, let's say I do like that's really cheap or you can have an option
You can check
not
Yeah.
because at the end of it, this is like, yeah, it's right now, but I think
like you can't really know.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, when you're all,
Oh, yeah. On Dash and
you're already done with this.
So I can't just, right, no, have like, so I'm trying to figure out how to get it.
Oh, it's not.
I had a lot of comments but then like.
I found like some stuff that seems like
What you've done so far, how long did it take to
try it.
Yeah,
I tried once, but it's
and also added like.
I'm going down the rabbit hole.
I think those should be very simple. What is
Oh, that's also for
Okay, so
there's sort of like I assume like you had to add. Oh, I guess you had you might need to watch
Yeah, I also added. Secondary.
Nothing selected.
Oh, make it a bit more.
Create like also conversation. Later on. So we're doing this I mean, if you guys are cool with it. So, for the next one, we focused on
That's what I'm
we want to be able to have some physical
So do we have right they would make us our team would actually didn't have we're doing exactly the same way you're doing. That's probably one of
like so this is going to show let's say you have you go like 9, 10, 6, 7, or I'll go 9, 10, 7. Yeah, which is how it is. Yeah, I think it's not. Yeah, I think anytime maybe you'll have like that or like this like
You can refer to how it does. This is still like a one where
Give a heads up like, no, yes, they have to be. Nobody's going to exactly. Because of another one, and they have and 2 days ago, everyone was like, it's like
That's my
honestly, my brother is doing and Raptor says that I actually no, he doesn't think it was.
But yeah, no, it's like you sing that blockers and then you're they use it to use the go to that's how
Okay, so let's say yeah, I think the main thing I would just go before there is like as long as you keep maybe like EY or maybe I think that's probably like I don't know how you yeah, also nice. Yeah, I get that one in my advice. Or you could just also, like, in this case, like, if this becomes too hot. If even everything else, so like, I mean, to be true, like, alright, was there any other, like, so say y'all have
I can put that's all we're doing.
and honestly, like,
So I think because of the leadership, online activities are not very much because there's so I guess they have evaluated the shit out of me. I don't think it's really so they're whatever they want to do. Oh,
I made a presentation this is I haven't just the one that is is the fundraisers that we know.
Yeah, so I wonder if like
We don't have to do any more.
You mean get it finally sent on? But no must be saying like so like basically on a click of this button and then you just somehow get the text, right?
Yeah, and they're showing on but I mean, it's like you get the name like that loud that it clicks from.
Yeah. Because I don't know, I'm thinking maybe it was like, again, y'all are much more experts on this feature than I am, and probably makes it this hard to do, but I wonder like, when you're in like, okay, so definitely have to figure out again, once you do that, just like is there a way, I don't know how to like, you just like, rather than saying, I wonder if I just right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay, this is really helpful. Thanks very much. I think one thing like with say you want to name I wonder what if you notice is like say you have like some options like ideally they haven't been it's just like maybe like 5 or 6 different scenarios where you just put them all together where you can literally just stop with a file context and still like each button just changes what you and then there could be a button or like edit this file, and then they make the edits and you just do save now. Like you can't jump to another file and just save I don't know again, but like this one thing you want to think about is like in figuring out how to do this. I would say like how to not actually it makes sense. You can think of like ways to get around that are just like maybe a little bit
Everyone knows.
Oh, yeah. Convergence will be there.
Yeah, I guess honestly, but that's what
It's just that we were just like, it's already This lab was essentially uses Oh, I was using the SpongeBob. That's what I was saying. Yeah, I just recorded myself.
And then you can show us like how it actually
Do you like the car? I know you haven't enjoyed it, but have they sent you Where's their office? Is it
I think I just wanted to like
And then might be ton.
Do they have so many people?
we
never agreed on the time tomorrow. Oh yeah, we only discussed it about.
But you like
I will just read.
Similar to like what pretty much we were getting.
Where were you working? Is it what San Diego? My friend works there. She had to return off.
Yeah. You can just like and just also like
She works in the AR.
Final presentation.
You have a lot of opportunities. But then after
Yeah, yes. It's a different
did they see based on many and he was like, you like,
We did your pickets, ready?
that's pretty easy. Oh, you don't want to be I guess the pros that's not gonna be good. I would do it. No, I'm kidding. What are you guys doing? Oh, that's actually add that to the. Imagine
It's like you were say you get good and you're just like if you're saying that
he has their
I wasn't
Yeah. Maybe because I can't. So I at this point I hear. A lot of
half is fine. Yeah. All I'm saying is Like it's kind of like
I see in this little these with your soul. I really like that's the only thing but I really
just do the whole file and then you display all instances of it.
But it's the one that
Okay, everyone, we're pretty close to the end of class. Just gonna make a couple last announcements and then we'll sort of end here. Alright guys, sorry, let's like quiet down for a couple seconds here. I'll just make a few announcements. We're already at like 4:50 basically. So okay, just a couple things. One, for these projects, I sort of had a chance to talk with like Pushy, Yush, and Jerry about how we feel about these. Generally, the progress seems like it's really good. One thing I do want to mention though is like I know quite a few groups. It seems like for your project, there's like one or two main obstacles, and once you figure that out, you kind of have the core functionality implemented. One thing we're going to be looking for is like things that you can maybe add on or like enhance whatever you had currently proposed because maybe you figured it out somewhat quickly, okay? So like, for example, I think a good idea is to look at, if you're doing something related to, I don't know, anything that happens in VS Code, you can look at how VS Code, like a high-powered IDE, handles certain things. So you can look at like the outline view of that, or you can think of like how can I make like a UI that is like a better representation of whatever feature I'm improving on, okay? So think of like different ways to enhance like the logic of what you're implementing. Maybe you can add like several small features, or you can just improve the UI or presentation of whatever feature you implemented, okay? And then the next thing is code walkthrough presentations. Remember, look at the guidelines on the website, and most of it should just be like demonstrating. You'll be plugging in your computer to the screen sharing thing here. I have the adapter for Macs, otherwise you're just HDMI cord here. It's 12 minutes, okay, and then 3 minutes of Q&A. 12 minutes goes kind of fast actually, okay, and especially if there's 4 of y'all talking for 3 minutes each. You might want to just practice it once or twice ahead of time to make sure that you aren't going sort of overtime, okay? We'll probably try to cut everyone off at 12 minutes to make sure that we get through all of the presentations. Okay, aside from that, have a good weekend, everybody. It's a long weekend, so have fun. See you on next week.
It will be that one.